again, it's not all on John Mateer's shoulders because Oklahoma's got a good defense. And one player in particular showed up on ESPN's top playmakers for 2025 that didn't include quarterbacks. We'll discuss him coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up in the third segment, we're going to break down that Auburn-Oklahoma game that's going to be in Norman this year. Oklahoma got the big win in Auburn, Alabama last year. What will happen this year? But Jay, so much of the focus on Oklahoma is on the offense, and rightfully so. What it was last year was dreadful, absolutely unacceptable at the University of Oklahoma for offense to look like that. But what we're not talking enough about is how Oklahoma's got a bevy of playmakers on that defense, guys that people are talking about and a lot of guys that people aren't talking about. But one dude that should be on everybody's radar and will be at some point is R. Mason Thomas. This dude had 9 sacks last year, and he is just still flying under the radar somehow in SEC circles, in college football circles, because he's not considered among the top pass rushers, and guys like Dylan Stewart are being ranked way ahead of him, even though they had less production. But ESPN, Adam Rittenberg, came out with the top playmakers for 2025 that didn't include quarterbacks, because generally quarterbacks really make up all these lists. And R. Mason Thomas was included. And it's rightfully so, because the guy's going to be a top 100 pick next year. I believe that he could push for the first round, depending on how this season goes. And if people are able to just kind of get past some of the height, length issues. But here's what he had to say about Oklahoma, or about R. Mason Thomas. He said, Thomas, who showed premier pass rushing skills last fall, will be somebody that Brent Venables can build around. More than half of his total tackles came from losses, and he became the first Oklahoma player to record 3 sacks in a game since 2020 and got better as games went along, recording 6 of his sacks in the fourth quarter. An SEC coach said he's not at the level of Dylan Stewart, disrespectful, churlish, and insubordinate, but he's a dynamic kid.
Churlish. But I understand Dylan Stewart's dynamic, and he's more of a disruptor than a producer. So you get it, right? You understand why they would say that, while also at the same time. John, one thing that we have recognized here is that R. Mason Thomas, let's look at the perspective here. He had 9 sacks last season, right? How many of those came in the SEC?
I want to say like 6. Yeah.
6 of them. 6 of them came in SEC play. He had his 3 against Tulane, and that was basically his coming out party. And right after that, Auburn, he started to just produce them in every other game. He got the half sacks. What's that against? Let's see. That was Tennessee as well as South Carolina. He got sacks against Missouri, Alabama, LSU. He went 3 straight games with the sack as well. So, yeah, R. Mason put up most of his numbers. 6 of his 9 sacks last season came in SEC play, and he was very much disruptive. He's all over the place, picking up fumbles, taking them in for touchdowns. He caused a fumble against Tulane and then picked up his fumble. He went against LSU as soon as Gracen Halton got in there, saw that, picked up the ball, ran it in for a tutty. So R. Mason Thomas' disruptiveness is something that teams are paying attention to. Again, no, he's not as dynamic as Dylan Stewart, because that dude's dip is absurd, especially at 6'6". But R. Mason is a force, and you're right. Teams going to key in on him, but I love that they're going to pay attention to him heavily. Why? That opens it up for Marvin Jones Jr., who needs to have a great year in order to propel himself in the NFL draft. He is required to have one. The former 5-star has got to prove to everybody that, no, the rumors are bad. I am good at this game. But I love to see that R. Mason Thomas is getting some recognition, and that now teams really have to be put on notice when it comes to him. They know that R. Mason is going to be around here causing problems. Miguel Chavis is cooking in that edge room, and all it is going to do is get better. So, Sooner fans, we know the defense was good last year. Don't be surprised if statistically it's better next year. Yes, I'm saying it. I know we lost Billy Bowman. We lost Danny Stutzman. I totally understand it. We lost Trace Ford, Ethan Downs, Caden Woolard in the edge room. I get it. John, if this offense just does just enough, R. Mason Thomas is going to have an opportunity to be nasty because he's going to get so many more snaps. And we've got the depth to handle it this time around. We're starting to look like a Brent Venables defense.
Yeah, consider how many times Oklahoma actually got to play with a lead last year. It wasn't much. Yeah. And when R. Mason Thomas got the opportunity to play with the lead and just pin his ears back and rush the passer, man, he was creating havoc. And he was making guys like Jalen Milroe see ghosts. Like Jalen Milroe did not want to drop back to pass in that fourth quarter because R. Mason Thomas was just flying off the edge and getting in the backfield. And that Woody Washington interception was R. Mason Thomas. You can even go look at the Peyton Thorne interception that was the Kip 6 against Auburn. R. Mason Thomas, creating pressure off the edge and making Peyton Thorne get rid of it. It's that kind of disruption. The media may not know about R. Mason Thomas, but coaching staffs absolutely do. Offensive coordinators absolutely do. And offensive line coaches are coaching up their guys to try to beat R. Mason Thomas and make sure he doesn't get into the backfield. The Missouri game was evidence enough of how dynamic this guy is, because at the end of that game, they had him triple teamed to try and slow him down. That last hurrah to Luther Burden down the sideline, that's R. Mason Thomas getting triple teamed on that play.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that's respect. If you want to see what respect looks like, that's 100% it. Is we are not letting you beat us. We'll let anybody else beat us. We are not letting you beat us. We're not going to go down that road. And nope. R. Mason Thomas is going to get a little bit more help this year. I think Gracen Halton is going to step his game up. We're going to have an improved Jayden Jackson, an improved David Stone, an improved Dominic Williams on the interior. You're going to get some more dynamic play out of Marvin Jones Jr. as well. The cornerback situation, I think, if it's healthy, could potentially be even better than it was last year. If you get Gentry back, if Eli Bowen's back, that development's going to occur and you're going to get better cornerback play, which is going to allow your edge rushers a little bit more time to get to the quarterback. What R. Mason Thomas means to this defense is incalculable, because it always doesn't show up on the stat sheet, because he creates so much attention for himself that it takes it off of other people. He creates so much gravity. He's a guy that people have to move towards to slow him down so that he's not getting into the backfield and disrupting plays. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens here, because let's think back to that 2022 cycle. Remember, he was not originally a part of of Lincoln Riley's recruiting class in the 2022 class. He was a late pursuit after Brent Venables and Miguel Chavis got here. He was a commit to Iowa State, only considered a 3-star prospect. And look at the boy now. I mean, he's playing like a dude that is set to make a lot of money going to the NFL. And again, you can talk about the height all you want. He's got the elite pass rushing traits that teams are going to want on their roster. He's going to be a steal when it comes to the NFL draft.
Oh, yeah.
He's set to make himself a lot more money this year by coming back for another year and putting together another year of production.
That's all it takes. One more year of production. Teams are going to look at that and be like, okay, he can build upon something and show consistency even when he is the focal point. He's going to be able to do that. Now, I mean, of course, one of the big pluses in the NFL is they like guys that are disruptive enough to where they eat doubles and triples in order to slow them down, which opens it up for their other teammates. But if he's able to still produce while also enduring all of that, yeah, he's going to make himself a lot of nice money.
Well, one of those games that R. Mason Thomas needs to have a big one. That's Auburn. We'll discuss the big questions and keys to that as we take our post-spring look at the Auburn Tigers, coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.